All right, appears we are back. Hopefully, we are now live. Hopefully, we'll see. It says we're
Yeah.
live on both. Um, my thing was the unticked last time. So yeah, we'll see. Uh, what's going on here? Might have to go into. Hopefully, it's under the. This is very confusing. Very, very
Yeah.
confusing. But thank you guys for sticking around here.
Well, maybe the eyeball says 0.
0. Yes, I see that. Um, this is a
Fun times at
yep.
Ridgemont High.
Oh yeah, I'm live,
Oh,
but I'm on a completely
there they are.
different.
Now I see
Yeah,
eyeballs.
I'm on a completely different thing now. We'll have to. Yeah, I'm gonna. It just went to my old thumbnail. Yeah, we're just figuring stuff out here, guys. So thank you so much for sticking around. I do see me up here. Very, very fun. Very fun. Um. So yeah.
So I'm gonna check yours again.
I
Just
also noticed your channel is your old logo. So we have some technical difficulties here
it's
with
so
this.
weird.
So yeah. So strange. Thank you, Kevin, for stopping by and being here with us today. We appreciate you guys. We kind of lost comments when we stopped and then started again. So yeah, this
Yeah.
is just kind of a second episode using a new program again. EV Mux this time, which it seems to work way better. There's no delay with Elon. So once we actually get into the meat and potatoes of this here, then we're good to go. However,
Yeah.
yeah, up until until then, yeah, it's we'll just have to go with it. And we'll kind of figure stuff out because it's weird. It's weird.
This is this is the time of day in my office where
I
because
see that.
I don't have any shades on on that particular window.
You know, I was
So
gonna say,
but it's just like 20 minutes or so, or like maybe even
yeah.
just 15 where the sun just boop just comes right in, but then it goes behind the window. So I shouldn't be so blown out in about 10 minutes or so.
You know, when we came back on, I'm like, why is he like that much like brighter? That's weird. Um, but who knows? Who knows?
It's called the giant ball of gas in the
A
sky.
giant ball of gas. So, for those, I guess we can just updating the thumbnail here on the other post. So it just kind of
All right.
matches when people go in and they're like, "Hey, what's should I be watching this?"
Yeah. Like on your YouTube
Yeah,
studio end?
yep, because it was the old one, the old way, and
Yeah.
yeah, fun times, guys, fun times. So
Whee!
anyway, if we want to dive in here, I guess, Elon, do you want to like kick us off, like what this episode would kind of be about, kind of the main topic? Like I said earlier, guys, real quick, I guess I'll just do another reminder. If you have a topical question about anything we're talking about here, put a TQ, I was going to say TK, TQ colon, and then ask about the current topic so we can see it. We'll kind of answer those topical questions while we're talking about uh, the topic at hand. Normally at the end of kind of like what we're talking about, you know, we're trying to format it so there's like a good place to just answer questions because we just, you know, this isn't just a simple Q&A live stream. It's just us talking, you guys chiming in, which is awesome. That's why you're here. But it won't be like, you know, a ton of like questions. It's not a that's not the top. That's not the goal, right,
Yeah.
Elon? That's the yeah. So
Yeah.
and then if you have general questions about anything else home theater related, audio, music, whatever you want, that's away from the topic we're talking about, put a GQ colon like the magazine in front of it and ask away. We will generally answer those questions near the end of the stream. So stick around, or tune back in later if you got to go do something else. But we appreciate you guys just hanging out with us. That's
Yeah.
really what it's all
Thanks,
about.
guys.
So,
And gals? Do we even have any gals?
we'll just say, sure, they are here. Everyone is here. So yeah, leave us a comment too. Let us know if you could see us, you can hear us. We got total 16 people here in the stream, 9 from Elon, 7 from Home Theater, 8 from Home Theater Gamer. Which, by the way, you can see that if you just twirl that
Oh,
little
really?
arrow down. Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, look at that. Sweet.
Very cool. So as we're figuring this stuff out, thank you guys. Yeah, Elon, kick us off. Kind of what was the basis? Like we kind of talked about this a little bit, but kind of maybe let people know why we arrived here as like a topic.
Yeah, it's because I honestly wanted to do my own video about it when I saw the news. Because at first, it kind of threw me off because first they just announced that there was going to be a new Jurassic World film, right? So I'm like, I rolled my eyes and
Yeah.
I'm like, not another one because Jurassic World Dominion was a horrible movie. It had some pretty good base because we're dealing with dinosaurs, but like just the fan service it was just blatant fan service. The plot was not that great. Um, and obviously they had some callbacks to previous Jurassic Park and Jurassic World movies that the execution was just not there. So I really didn't enjoy Jurassic Dominion. And I thought because they brought back all those people from the original Jurassic Park, I thought that was like the send off. That was the swan song of this franchise to be like, hey, we brought people from the very beginning to the very end, full circle.
Yeah.
And then they were just going to leave it at
Yeah.
that. So when they announced that they were going to have another one coming out, I'm like, are you
Yeah.
kidding me? But then a few days later, then I see just because I follow several, movie related or tech related accounts on Instagram. And one of them mentioned that Gareth Edwards was now going to be the director of the next Jurassic World. So right then I was like, oh man, I should do a video on that because I want to talk about that. But then I was like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Now I have a platform to kind of do like discussions like this with our weekly podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, because I'm a huge fan of Gareth Edwards, I've been a fan of his since the 2014 Godzilla,
That's
because
right.
he took something that had been kind of just a bunch of misses in a row, and kind of rejuvenated it and revitalized it and made it really cool again.
Yeah.
Because what I really love about his style is that he is very good at having a sense of scale in his movies. Because since Godzilla is so huge, he really figured out a way to have, certain angles just be able to portray the sheer massive size of Godzilla
Yeah.
in such a way that is just mind-boggling. Or like, if you're in the theater, he just seems so gigantic.
Mm-hmm.
And now that he's going to be doing Jurassic World, he's obviously going to take that same logic and apply it to Jurassic World, which I'm now extremely excited about. But also, obviously, the audio was phenomenal in Godzilla. And he is, he's not like a Christopher Nolan that only puts out 5.1 mixes on physical media when they come out after the theatrical run. He's all about Atmos. He
Yeah.
loves Atmos, and he does good Atmos mixes, or at least he hires,
Yeah. Yeah.
good people to be in charge of that.
Yeah, I think he probably has a hand in. I mean, just like Christopher Nolan has a hand in the audio mixes. Gareth Edwards, I'm sure, goes in the mixing bay and everything to kind of hear everything, and kind of has a bar of quality that he either wants matched or exceeded, right? And
Mhm.
I think every director, every good director has that. I mean, some directors just don't, I'm sure they don't care about audio that much or know that much. They kind of know what they want to hear. Um, and I don't think Christopher Nolan is like that. But I do feel that Christopher Nolan has his own preference for things, and his
Mhm.
preference is they label it as an experience. To me, it's just let's compress the dynamic range and just make it loud as shit.
Right.
Because most of his movies are just um, they actually hurt my ears, even at relatively low volumes. Not to
Dude.
kind
Yeah.
of pivot over to that, but it's one of my major complaints that it can't. There are moments in each of his movies that do sound really, really good. Like I always go to
Mhm.
the Interstellar when they go in the black hole. You know,
Yeah.
everyone references the space shuttle launch there, but I am not. I don't think there are parts of that space shuttle launch, especially near the tail end, where you kind of like hear the inside and then it cuts to the outside, so you kind of hear the difference. But like,
Mhm.
yeah, that was kind of yeah, that's not my favorite part of the movie. I really like the black hole because there's a lot going on there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the bass is great, but there's actually range. But a lot of the other stuff is just kind of like I had the same problem with Tenet. Like Tenet was just
Yeah.
oh the explosion in the beginning of that movie. But I will say anything I've seen of Gareth Edwards, it's a very dynamic mix. Very
Mhm.
you do have to like crank it up to hear the dialogue, which is the norm these days, right? Like
Yeah.
it's almost dialogue is mixed down here to make the explosions and louder scenes louder,
Yeah,
giving you
exactly.
the illusion of higher dynamic range. But I
Yeah.
think that we could really kind of see a better Jurassic World. I when I looked this up because like it was our topic, I was like, wait, this is the fourth Jurassic World. I
Yeah.
completely forgot that there was like Jurassic World and then Jurassic World something and then
Fallen Kingdom, I think it was.
yes. So, and I
I
remember
actually haven't even seen that one.
no,
I've only seen Jurassic World and Jurassic World Dominion. I haven't even
yeah,
seen the
they
middle
just
one.
there were parts of it that it just really stood out as being like just a CGI fest, and that's
Yeah.
kind of like I know that CGI is so prevalent in Hollywood these days, but there's some really questionable choices as to why there was there was so much
Mhm.
like just obvious green screens and things like that. But
Yeah.
I'm really hopeful because I'm not a massive Star Wars fan, but Rogue One of the more recent Star Wars films is probably my favorite.
Mhm.
Both like subject matter along with cinematography and the way the pacing is and everything, which is very much a Gareth Edwards like kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, for
I
sure.
honestly thought he knocked it out of the park with Rogue One.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, it's that must have been such a daunting task to take on because it's such a beloved franchise.
Yeah.
And yet, I mean, obviously the newer ones, the newer trilogy just has this certain feel and this certain look to it. But it must have been so hard for Gareth Edwards to really do the production and the art direction and all that stuff with Rogue One because it's not a new story. It's a story that took place during the original trilogy. So
Yeah.
he had to make it look like it was filmed back in those times,
The 70s,
or at
80s
least had
era.
that same
Yeah.
feel, you know?
Yeah. Same kind of production design as like everything kind of had to match as best it could to that kind of what
Hmm.
George Lucas had come up with and what the original directors of, the three films, the original how they kind of looked. You have a
Hmm.
very it looks very nice on your that's a like you got HMI over there?
I know. I just need to just put like a blanket up or something.
Yeah.
So-
A shower curtain, just diffuse it.
right.
Film School 101 right
Ah.
there on the cheap. Yeah, I'm really excited to see what he does. I've been very vocal about my dislike for the last couple Jurassic World movies,
Mhm.
and Jurassic World 1. it started out okay. I was like, this is pretty good. And then it just kind of went downhill about halfway through the movie. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. And then the second and third just kind of got even more ridiculous. And I mean, we're talking
Mhm.
about dinosaurs, right? In current time. But there was I think it's a lofty goal to try to say I want this to be as good as the original, because I don't think anything that comes out now to me will be as good as Jurassic Park, which
Yeah.
is the movie that got me into both home theater and filmmaking. It made me
Mhm.
want to get into both, and it was such a like prolific movie for me. It like meant so much to me that I do hold it kind of near and dear to my heart. So when they are like, we're gonna do another one, a Jurassic World, and I'm like, oh, it's kind of like when I see, oh, Beetlejuice 2.
Yeah.
I'm like hopeful, but I'm like, yeah, there's no way that you could take lightning in a bottle, lightning in a bottle, and capture it again. Pretty much, I think with Jurassic Park or Beetlejuice, like it's
Yeah.
just a relic of the time. It's kind of like if they were gonna try to do another Goonies. I just don't think. Just say Stranger Things. That's it. That's Goonies. That's
Yeah.
Goonies now,
Yeah,
just
for sure.
with upside down things and
Right.
Vecna and all that stuff.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to this next Jurassic World because of what Gareth Edwards was able to pull off in The Creator. Because, I follow ILM on Instagram, and even to this day, they still are dropping like behind the scenes stuff and articles and all this stuff surrounding the creator, just because it was such a cool thing that they were able to pull off. Because like they didn't even do like your typical suit
Yeah.
for like motion capture. The suit with the ping pong balls on it and stuff.
Hmm.
They didn't even do that. All they did was just paint out people or paint out their heads and then put, robot heads, and had like real actors in these positions going through the motions and doing these performances. But then it was just all in post when they put in the robots in their place. So like, and on top of that, the fact that they shot on location everywhere. I mean, I think they had maybe just a few sound stages that they actually, you know, filmed on, but otherwise it was all on location because, I mean, you watched that CGI breakdown video that you sent me,
Yeah.
and he
Yeah.
mentioned
I'm trying to share
how
the
it
screen
is
here to see.
cheaper. He mentioned that it's much, much cheaper to just go to a location and film there than it is to create this elaborate set.
Yeah.
So, like, I really want that same thought process to go into this new Jurassic World movie, because that honestly harkens back to the original Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
The reason the original Jurassic Park looks so good even today is because the computers were literally not powerful enough to create entire environments
Yeah.
like they can today. Like they were forced to use, on location footage and then put the dinosaurs in afterwards because that's all that they could do.
Yeah.
So like, so if he takes what he did with the creator and applies it to Jurassic World and just films on location in every, set piece,
Yeah.
then it's just going to look that much better just because the computers are so advanced nowadays
Yeah.
that if you take an actual location and put CGI dinosaurs in it, you can actually spend more time on the dinosaurs as opposed to spending a little bit of time on the dinosaurs and spending a little bit of time on this box over here and spending a little bit of time on these trees over here.
Yeah.
Like if it's just the dinosaurs that they're putting in, then then you have a reference to the actual foliage that's surrounding them, and it sells it better.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I love his approach to kind of like he does have a like Christopher Nolan esque way in that he kind of, or I don't want to say Christopher Nolan esque. It's kind of like an old Hollywood type thing where it's like, what can we get in camera,
Yeah.
right? There was a thing, a scene in that. Let me bring it up again.
Hmm.
A scene in the that thing that we're kind of referencing
Hmm.
here, where he was talking about how he was trying to capture this moment, and they didn't want to like have to be like it's a very pivotal moment, very emotional scene, and they didn't have like the amount of time that they needed like on location because it's like a 10-minute window of this kind of like you know light hour, and so there's like, oh yeah, we got like a cheap projector and like did like a projection type thing.
Hmm.
Whereas like most, I feel like most other like if this were like, let's say Jurassic World 3, they would just do this all digitally. They would film it against a green screen. I know you can see a green screen back here, but that's not what they're actually filming. They're filming stuff
Yeah.
like here, they're getting the reflection off of the projector and the windshield. So everything is kind of like there in the moment, and they could just redo the scene as many times as they want. That's
Yeah.
stuff I really love. And I feel like that is things that just aren't really done these days,
Hmm.
um, with the way like movies are made, right? Everything's on a green screen, on a sound stage, to kind of cut costs. Yeah, we have like the
Yeah.
thing like the volume where like it's a big wraparound screen, but that's very expensive and it's not perfect
Hmm.
either. There
Yeah.
are issues, especially if you're trying to do slow motion, right? Like you're shooting at a
Hmm.
higher frame rate. Those LEDs at a certain frame rate and a certain shutter speed will start to flicker,
Yeah.
which if you've ever tried to film something, anyone in the comments try to film something with their phone in slow motion, you might notice, wait a minute, there's like this light is flickering,
Hmm.
for some reason, and that's mainly because the the camera is seeing the actual flicker where our eyes have enough persistence of vision
Yeah.
to be able to see it. Um, so yeah, I'm really a fan like of all of that because I remember watching the creator and be like, this kind of like had that there was a like the care that went into it,
Hmm.
and what I kind of attributed it to as we were watching it, it kind of had that same. I don't want to say like the movie feels like this, but that kind of attention to detail, like that Logan had
Yeah.
with like a lot like. There was nothing superhero to me about that movie other than the character of Wolverine being Wolverine.
Yeah, for sure.
It was more about like the emotional story of him going through what he's going through and being like at the end of his life, basically.
Hmm.
This kind of had that same like feeling, like a lot like they really cared about what they were doing, and I can see why this movie was so like well received.
Hmm.
Normally if it's something like that, I'm like, it's kind of like an art house type thing, and it's a
Right.
little pretentious, but no, I didn't get any of that feeling from this movie. I
Mhm.
enjoyed it very thoroughly.
Yeah, I do want to own the creator. I don't have it yet, but I do want to get it on 4K Blu-ray because it is in Dolby Atmos. I started, I watched it on Hulu, but on Hulu it was only a 5.1 mix.
Yeah.
So I obviously didn't get like the full immersive
Yeah.
experience. So I definitely want to check that out, and you know, it'll probably make me even more excited for this new Jurassic
Right.
World.
Yeah. I mean, I'm more excited than I have been. My wife loves the Jurassic World movies. She doesn't really have much of a problem with them as I do, just from like,
Mhm.
just really didn't care for either of the later ones. Jurassic World is still to me watchable, but
Yeah,
I would prefer the original. Um, with all the
yeah,
warts and all the hands that you see on the side of the velociraptors in the kitchen, and all the
right.
little like goof ups. But like to me, that's part of the charm. It's
Yeah,
it's like seeing a wire from an '80s movie or something. It's like, oh yeah,
mhm,
I don't want them to change that. Like,
yeah.
oh, you see the back of the actor's head in Killer Clowns from the outer space or something. From the outer space, from outer space. Wow. Um, I can't talk tonight, but. Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm hoping that it will be as good as like the creator and things like that.
Hmm. Oh, I can see from this comment here, Andor series and Rogue One, top notch. Um, Honestly, yeah, like that's to go along with the creator.
hmm
Andor was the same way. Andor was mostly shot on location. I think a lot of it, like a lot of the landscapes where it's like a lot of green hills and stuff. I think those were filmed in Scotland or Ireland or something,
Somewhere, yeah,
somewhere over there. Um, but like, I mean, it's not only just that. It just for a franchise like Jurassic World or Star Wars, where obviously you're going to get a lot of CGI.
yeah,
Um, I just love it when they take something like that that you would expect a lot of CGI, and they don't do that, and
yeah,
they take it back a little bit, and they make sure to film on location. But obviously, you're going to have some ships flying around, whatever. That's CGI, sure. But yeah, it just it helps me get into the story more
yeah,
because it's more relatable. It's a reference that I recognize because I know what a
yeah,
green hill looks like,
yeah,
you know? so it just seeing like actual real grass and rocks and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, it really
yeah,
it helps my brain just kind of get into the story rather than being, you know, rather than pointing out things that I don't like because I can see that it's CGI.
yeah. And to kind of piggyback off of what you're talking about there, we actually had a comment from Rayman that says, I can watch a pretty crappy movie if the base is good, but not the other way around.
Yeah.
So what I take from that is if it's a good movie but the base sucks, you can't watch it. Is
Yeah.
that what I'm? So yeah, I think like it. I think maybe what he's talking about, if it's a good movie, um, maybe we'll use like maybe this is a bad example, but we've talked about the Hobbit movies before, and they're not great for what they are.
Yeah.
But considering the very troubled production of those movies, the fact that they
Mhm.
even came out in the state that they did is a testament to Peter Jackson as a director. But so, like, say you love The Hobbit, the first movie, all of those movies have very, very horrible, horrible mixes, even on like the Dolby Atmos mixes.
Mm.
The bass has always been anemic. I remember watching it in IMAX,
Yeah.
going like, "Where is the bass? This is not what I've come to expect from even IMAX."
Mhm.
And that's a thing where it's like movies like that are why things like I think it's like bass EQ or something like where you basically plug in a EQ file into a mini DSP is popular on the input side. So basically it's an EQ filter that people have created that injects like basically boosts the bass to
Mm.
what people deem as the right level, but it's like okay, it sounded like this in the theater. I don't think like there's like you're straying away from the creator's intent at that point, and that's like a personal option or decision that you've made. But
Yeah.
I do like I mean some of my favorite movies are movies that just aren't even really intended to be home theater demo material, like Shawshank
Yeah.
Redemption. I
I know,
mean,
right?
not really, you're not going to be wowed by a Dolby Atmos mix on that, you know.
No.
It will like open the score up and make it sound more, kind of like or it can, I should say. But I think,
Mhm.
there's also something to be said about older movies being remastered for Dolby Atmos.
Yeah.
Like they tend to we were talking about Twister last week. They tend to they definitely overdid the Atmos mix on that movie. It's crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy how active it is. But yeah, I think there's like something to that. It's like the watching the Jurassic World movies because the audio was decent, it made it more tolerable. However,
Yeah.
there have been movies that I've turned off completely because of like because of the movie being so bad.
Yeah.
What are your kind of Like, what's your viewpoint on that? Can you watch a bad movie like Jurassic World Dominion, even though the audio is like nice and it's got like decent bass, decent, height effects going on, all that stuff?
Well, the only reason I the only reason I watched Jurassic World Dominion to the very end was because I actually never saw it in the theater, but I got it like it was on sale for like $10 or something on a 4K Blu-ray. So I'm like, well, I heard
Yeah.
I heard the audio mix was good, so I'm just gonna buy it and watch it, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's really the only reason was because I hadn't seen it before.
Mm.
And I just wanted to see it in my theater, and, have a proper Atmos mix going on. Or actually, I think all the Jurassic Worlds are DTSX, if I'm
That
not
was going to be
mistaken.
something that was like my next thing I was thinking about because it's a Universal property.
Hmm.
Are they? There's I. And correct me if I'm wrong. I'd have to look this up. But do you think that Universal may kind of force that even if Gareth Edwards is like, I'm a huge Dolby Atmos fan, I want Dolby Atmos. They're like, well, no, you're going to do DTSX because kind of historically 4K UHD Blu-rays from Universal have been DTSX.
Yeah.
However, there are Dolby Atmos theatrical mixes for all of these movies because they come out in Dolby Cinemas and things like that.
Yeah.
So, a theatrical Atmos mix, while it can't translate directly to a home mix, there needs to be some conversion done there,
Mhm.
because of the home versions don't support 128 channels, of
Right.
Atmos. Uh, I would say that it would be easier to take that theatrical mix and dumb it down essentially to a home mix and have
Mhm.
both on the disc. But I don't know if they'll do that. Like I would love to see
Yeah.
that, but you know,
I know,
I,
right?
I
Because
don't
it
want.
is just one or the other. Yeah,
Yeah,
you never see both of them on the same disc.
and honestly, I don't know that I like. I've seen. I think there have been a couple movies that have both on them. I believe,
Mhm.
uh, but I'm not sure. I think Fast, whatever the last Fast movie was, Fast X
Fast
or
X, yeah.
something. And I know the one before
Part
that,
one.
Fast 9, yeah. Fast 10. Fast 9 did have Dolby Atmos because I remember watching that. And that
Mhm.
goes back to watching a crappy movie with good audio because those movies are just garbage. Um, I mean, I love the first movie. But like they just got so ridiculous after that.
I
Um,
mean, really, it's they created a franchise where
yeah.
they're basically just superheroes in
Hmm.
cars, or like the
Yeah.
cars themselves are
And they're
superheroes.
and if you go in with that mindset, I feel like you're gonna
Oh
have a
yeah,
good time. But there are
yeah,
some parts where I'm like, just don't,
yeah,
just defy all laws of physics and everything.
yeah. But I mean, at the same time, though, like as soon as The Rock joined the franchise, which was I think number 5,
It
if
was
I'm not
one, yeah,
mistaken, I think that's when like the creators and just the producers behind the Fast franchise just thought, you know what? Fuck it. Let's
yeah,
just go balls to the wall. Let's just do absolutely ridiculous things. Because I honestly think with The Rock signing on, they maybe he, in fact, had some input and was like, let's just not take this seriously. Let's just
yeah,
do crazy shit and see
yeah,
what we can come
yeah.
up with. So, but I'm saying that as if I've watched all of them, but I haven't even seen like the last 4 or 5 Fast movies. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, I guess to your point, like I don't mind DTSX. I've heard some excellent DTSX
Yeah.
mixes. I don't really prefer Dolby Atmos over DTSX. It's just I know Dolby Atmos mixes are more common.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've got all of the Cornetto trilogy, Shaun of the Dead,
Hmm.
and Hot Fuzz, World's End. Those are all mixed in DTSX, and those sound phenomenal. But that's also because Edgar Wright is, an
Yeah.
incredible director who really pays attention to sound. So
Yeah.
that's probably has something to do with it.
Yeah, I think I remember reading he supervised the mixes on those as well. The mixes and the color, like the remastering process of, scanning the film
Hmm.
negative and redoing the color timing to match what was in the original, like, or what his intent was.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah,
because I know.
especially with Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Yeah, yeah. I think Bill Pope, who's a very famous cinematographer, worked with him. I don't think he did Scott Pilgrim. Maybe he did, but I know he did. Pretty sure he did Hot Fuzz.
Hmm.
Maybe did Hot Fuzz, and he did a couple of movies with him. But I remember like, oh, Bill Pope did that. Okay, you know, when I because I'm one of those people that like know. I'm like Roger Deakins. I have to see this movie. You know,
Yeah.
he's like prolific in terms of like
Mhm.
cinematographers.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think that I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. You kind of what's offered. I mean, either mix is like great to me, like Dolby Atmos, DTSX. It doesn't. I'm not the kind of picky. Um, there's a comment here that I thought was interesting or is interesting. People are from Tomlinson. People are so concerned with Dolby Atmos when they should be more concerned with better quality speakers first, quality over quantity. I will actually go one step further, and people actually need to be less concerned about speakers and more concerned about room acoustics because
Yeah, true.
that can take even like a okay sounding speaker and elevate it.
Hmm.
And then if you get a better speaker in there, guess what? Like you're gonna get a even better experience from it because
Yeah.
room acoustics. You know, some people find this controversial. I don't. I think room acoustics are probably the most important aspect of your room, outside of like
Yeah.
you know, having at least a decent um placement for your speakers and having like quality speakers that you know aren't they're not struggling to hit certain frequencies and things like that. You
Yeah.
know,
But
but
just to clarify, you're talking about not only like acoustic treatment, but also like DSP, EQ, and all that
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. But I think yeah, it's kind of like starting with a bad source is gonna get you like bad results. So
Yeah.
like if you're playing in a if your home theater is in a room with all like hardwood floors, tile, like hard surfaces, very like high reflection points, then or like high reflectivity surfaces in terms of sound, not just like visual. Uh, that is just going to be a very echoey. It's going to be an echo chamber, basically. You're going to hear a lot of reflected sound as well as
Hmm.
direct sound, and that's gonna like even like running room correction won't fix that because room correction can only do so much. It's kind of like you're putting a band-aid on like the bigger problem. So
Yeah,
that
exactly.
kind of like veered off into a different direction. But I think that that's often the last thing people kind of focus on is the acoustics of their room. When
Hmm.
in reality, um, a lot of dialogue intelligibility in movies, I found like once I started like focusing on room like acoustics, it became less of a problem. I
Hmm.
could actually understand even though the volume was lower, not having that reflectivity like basically competing with
Yeah.
the sound coming directly at you, it helps a lot, and even like directionality. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think there's a lot of just kind of like, oh yeah, you know, let's do Odyssey or let's do Dirac and that'll fix it. And it's like, no, I mean, it'll get it may be better, maybe worse. But yeah,
Yeah.
room acoustics. Room acoustics. Um, but
That's
yeah,
why I'm curious about Dirac art.
I've heard,
Um,
yeah,
just
yeah.
because it basically eliminates the need to have acoustic treatment because it's the speakers themselves that are actually doing that for you. Um,
I
you know,
wonder, yeah. I've been meaning to
but
toy around like so I reviewed Dirac a long time ago and they gave me a lifetime license. So I get like basically
oh,
free upgrades to the PC version of it.
ah,
Does not support Atmos, but it does support up to 7.1.
yeah.
And it got recently updated with art. So I could
Ooh.
theoretically test it out and run it. I haven't done so yet just because I've been so busy with other stuff.
Mhm.
But I'm curious to see because I've heard mixed things from people. Some people say
Yeah.
it's like this will revolutionize the stuff. or this will, you know, this is not as good. I think I not to keep going down the room correction rabbit hole, but I don't know if it was you I was talking to about, but I kind of related room correction to washing a car. Was it you I was talking about with this?
I don't think so. That doesn't ring a
No.
bell.
Okay, so basically the way I worded it was room correction is like, so you have like Odyssey and Dirac, which are like taking your car to an automated car wash,
Hmm.
right? Your car is dirty. You go through this automated car wash. It'll be cleaner when it comes out, but it's not going to be perfect,
Yeah.
right? So then you could go the DIY route and wash the car yourself, detail it, and it'll be perfect, but you're going to spend time and you're going to spend money on those
Hmm.
products.
Right.
But you know it's perfect. Or you can pay a detailer, a pro calibrator. So like before, like if you're doing it yourself, you're doing REW, you're doing, like mini DSP stuff, you're doing all this stuff. Or you pay a pro calibrator, a pro detailer to detail your car
Hmm.
for you, and you know it's going to get done right, but you're gonna pay money. Like it's not going to be cheap.
Yeah.
And so like to me, that's like kind of a logical like way. Yeah, room correction can do great things and it's getting better and better, but we're still not at a point where it will replace a pro calibrator coming in and tuning your system also based on your preferences, because you might go, I like more bass, and he knows what to do, but
Hmm.
like you have to like research room correction, be like, how do I get more bass? And is it good enough? Because
Yeah.
some people want to dive deep, some people don't. That's completely fine. Like there's many different levels to all of this. Um, but like if you want like the best sound, it's not gonna come like free, right?
Yeah.
Like you're gonna have to do some work at some point to either your time or your money to either have someone else do it or you do it yourself. Like that's really what it's all about. Or like you can literally just go to a point and go, it sounds good enough to me. I don't really care.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's also completely valid. Like
Hmm.
that's your choice. If you're happy with the way it sounds, if you're happy with your TV in torch mode, more power to you. Uh, do what you want to do. Just don't complain about how a movie looks if your TV's in torch mode, because it's like you're not actually seeing it. But
Yeah.
yeah. So I went on like a tangent there, but it's just something that I always see. It's like it's like a room correction, this end all be all thing, when it's like really like just kind of only as good as like what you give it in a
Yeah.
way. So
Here, I want to. Marv has a
yeah.
good comment here. Direct art will be nice for those who have their theater in their living room, and acoustic treatments are no bueno. And the wife says no,
Yeah.
because honestly, that's exactly the situation that I'm in. I mean, I want to put rear surrounds in my living room in the ceiling, because that's really the only spot I can put it. Um, and the wife is not really on board with that.
Yeah.
She may come around, but at the same time, hell no, she's not going to do uh, acoustic treatment either, because she doesn't want just big old panels,
Yeah.
lining the reflection spots around the room. Because we've got nice art that is already around our living
Yeah.
room, and she wants the art. She doesn't want stupid, bland acoustic panels. I mean, I know nowadays you can get acoustic panels with like,
Graphics and
yeah,
art.
you can
Yeah. Yeah.
get some stuff on them,
Honey, I
but
got you this Taylor
typically,
Swift.
I know, because
Okay.
typically it's either just some random, you know, random artwork
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
some licensed material that she just doesn't care about.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Hello
the
Kitty. Just
yeah, exactly.
hey.
Um, so yeah, I totally get it, Marv.
Yeah. I always say I'm very, very fortunate in that my wife has always been like into the hobby, even though she's not like into the nitty gritty technical stuff. You know, she went to the Florida Audio Expo with me, and helped along the way as well. But she was
Mhm.
like, you know what? I may not know all the stuff, but like we demoed quite a few speakers, and she's like, I could tell the difference between this and that. And,
Mm.
you know, she has much better hearing than I do. Like I have tinnitus and hearing loss from playing drums many, many years and
Yeah.
without hearing protection when I was younger. Don't do that if you're younger. Like protect your ears, guys. Um, but like she, like at, like I don't want to say that surprised me, but I think it surprised her because she was like, you know, she's like, I like good sound, and she knows when it's not right and something doesn't sound good. So, and I think in that essence, she kind of considers herself an audiophile, in
Mm.
that she just wants good sound. She doesn't want poor sound bar, like not I don't say sound bars are crap, but like, you know, cheap stuff that just sounds muffled and, you know,
Yeah.
I don't think she's the type of person that would not be happy with a Bose system. You
Right.
know, she's gotten very very used to how things sound in our theater, and
Hmm.
yeah, I've tuned it so like there's no end in sight with that. There's always just
I
something
know.
else I could do, you know? It's like, let me try the subs
Always.
all in sealed mode and see what that sounds like for a couple weeks, you
Mm.
know?
Right.
Um, so like it's just a never ending thing. And I'm always, you know, swapping gear out and stuff too, with doing reviews, and that makes it hard to kind of just settle down with one thing. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think that you know, having options for people that are in those situations like Marv was talking about. It's like you may not necessarily have the capability, or, you know, dare I say permission to go down
Right.
that road. Um, then I would say, you know, the easiest solution there is just leave. No, you know, just no. It's like you have to figure out ways. I mean, that's why smaller speakers were invented. That's why Bose is popular. That's why all these like
Yeah.
things are popular, because people like, there are situations like that. There's situations where like headphones are like really the only option for some people. You know,
Hmm.
apartments late at night, you know, you might want to like watch a movie late at night. You might want to play a game. It's like you don't want to wake up the other person in your room, or maybe you're playing in the bedroom and, you know, or whatever. So like, yeah, every situation is different. So I think,
Yeah.
like he said, like I think art could maybe do wonders in a situation like that. But I think
Yeah.
in a situation like where you have a highly treated room like mine, I don't say highly treated, but like I don't have bass traps or anything, but it might just end up like not really doing much. I don't know.
Yeah.
Only one way to find out, right?
Let's see. Let's take a look at this.
Take a look at what are you looking at?
Let's take a
Comments.
look at this.
Right.
Oh, just curious. Um, Kevin Gardner says, have either of you become familiar with kaleidoscope systems? And does the Kscape team actually tune the audio and video for home theater use?
Hmm.
Um,
So
honestly, I don't have a kaleidoscope.
yeah, I don't
I
either.
haven't had much, you know, I can't really say much to that. But I mean, I can only imagine that if it says Dolby Atmos, you know, when you're downloading the content, that it should be uncompressed, you know, Dolby True HD with Dolby Atmos metadata in that signal.
Yeah.
So I would I would hope that they would just not mess with anything and just keep it true to the original mix that was intended.
Yeah.
Because it would be kind of disappointing if there was like a kaleidoscape version of Atmos. So because
Um
that would be pretty controversial if that was the case. Like
yeah. Yeah. So
they
I
had like like it just had like this sonic quality that, you know, like, oh yeah, that's
yeah.
kaleidoscape Atmos. So
Yeah. I
I hope
think
that's not the case.
I don't. Yeah, I think. So I've actually talked to. I went to CEDIA 2022. Shot a Kaleidoscape video with Michael.
Mhm.
For Michael. And I was talking to. I can't remember her name. I still have her card. But we were talking about, the differences. Like, this is just off the record, off camera, whatever. But we were just kind of talking about the differences between, something like a server that you rip the discs yourself and all that stuff, the legality issues that go along with that. But also, like, it is not the easiest thing for everybody. I
Mhm.
do it because I have the capability to do it. But it's not something that I would go recommend, someone do that is not technically inclined. So if you
Right.
want, like, yeah. But we got basically got on the topic of, what does Kaleidoscape do with those mezzanine files, which is basically those are provided from the studio. They do, from my understanding, the the amount of information obviously that can go on a disk is limited, right?
Yeah.
Um, so they don't necessarily get like an uncompressed version of it, but they essentially the mezzanine file is essentially what is let's just say it's like the digital file that's sent to a theater to play the movie back,
Mm.
right? Video wise, the audio is separate, which I'll get to in just a second. But basically, they get that mezzanine file and they re-encode it in a format that they chose, like a codec that they chose, that will provide distinguishable results according to them to that mezzanine file. However, there are limitations. There's no Dolby Vision support, so if that's important, Kaleidoscape
Mm.
does not support Dolby Vision, which I think is a huge oversight to me
Oh,
because
yeah.
there's so much Dolby Vision content
Yeah.
out there um,
I didn't
that I
realize
don't know if
that.
it's like a Dolby license fee. I don't know. Um,
Probably.
but as far as the audio goes, I'm fairly certain that they're just getting whatever. It wouldn't make sense to do a Dolby Atmos Kaleidoscape mix because I don't believe that Dolby Atmos has like Dolby Atmos engineers. They just have more like or like sound mixing engineers. They more or less just get the lot because it's already lossless. They just get the lossless Dolby Atmos file. They pair it with the video and that's it. So like what you
Mm.
should get audio wise is the same as what's on the disc. I've never
Yeah.
heard of anyone other than like having some type of placebo effect because Kaleidoscape is such a expensive system to get into. You'd be like, the audio does sound better. I had a friend who kept telling me that, and I was like, but it's he's like, it's lossless, and I'm like, yes, but it's lossless on disc as well. Like you're
Yeah.
basically compressing something using like it's like when you use WinZip or something on a computer, you
Right.
can compress the files, and when you uncompress them, they're no longer like they're lossless, right? So
Mhm.
like the receiver's just doing that decoding, that decompression.
Right.
So it's lossless compression is gonna like like result in like the same thing on the audio side. So I think the audio side's the same. The only thing that I've noticed that people talk about, and it makes sense, is the video. The file sizes can be quite a bit bigger than what is allowed on a 4K Blu-ray,
Mhm.
and that maybe doesn't necessarily directly impact clarity or anything, but it can reduce compression artifacts that
Yeah.
may not be noticeable to most people, but in fast-moving scenes, it can still be there, like blocking and stuff like
Mm.
that. Might be quick, but yeah.
I did see an article that said some Chinese company has just created a new optical disc format
Yes.
that can have like one single disc can hold like petabytes of data, which is insane. I mean, I don't know how they do it, but because I know, like, you've got the master video file and you got the master audio file when something is brought to a 4K Blu-ray disc.
Yeah.
But even then, you've got to compress it to a certain degree, just because you don't have a lot of space on that 4K Blu-ray disc. But if you had something like this new optical format, like that could be a game changer. You could see like actual like master files transferred to the disk, and it'll have virtually all the information there without any compression whatsoever.
Yeah.
So,
This is on Tom's hardware, but they're basically it's a 10,000 times greater capacity. So we're looking at like 125 terabytes on a disk.
jeez.
That is insane.
Because I mean, something like, because I know Avatar: The Way of Water
Mm-hmm.
was one of the, at least on Kaleidoscape, it was like this ginormous file, like over 100 gigabytes or something, which you obviously can't put on a disk. So I would be curious to know if something like that, or I'd be curious to know if, in fact, The Way of Water on Kaleidoscape is actually like a pure transfer of the master
Yeah.
without any compression whatsoever.
That's actually a good question. You know, because like at the start there was a big thing about I think it was Infinity War, Avengers, Infinity War Endgame being like 30 or like I think it was like close to 30 gigabytes larger than like the disc,
Yeah.
which was predominantly all for video. So
Mhm.
I think it goes back to that, like, you know, I think what it comes down to really is Kaleidoscape is their limitation is what the studios provide them with.
Yeah.
If they're not providing them with, you know, something that's, you know, bigger than the disc, then it's like an issue because, you know, are they going to recompress that or
Yeah. Might
I
as
mean,
well get the disc.
yeah. And from my talks with the rep at Kaleidoscape, it does vary between. There's no that's I think that's the problem. There's no set standard in terms of like this is what we are getting, and here's what we're doing. So like that's why each movie has to be like re-encoded, right?
Yeah.
Um, through that. So there's like I mean obviously um if each is always going to be like that like excuse me, sorry. I had a burp, but it just wasn't coming up. So, but no, like if there was like a consistency, kind of like, you know, there's no HDR is still kind of like a hot mess in many instances. You know, it's kind of like all over the
Mhm.
place, and some of it's like intent, and some of it isn't. Some of it's just like bad mastering, and like the original Star Wars movies are garbage HDR transfers, or they have no high color gamut. There's no like
Yeah.
they just ticked a box and said it's HDR, you know. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, I think uh, it's going to be like a a give or take. I mean, the thing is, you know, Kevin said the files, you know, Kscape are several times larger than the disk, and they can be. Not in all instances.
Mhm.
It's like not a one size fits all.
Yeah.
If the lottery angels see fit, I'll definitely get Kscape. And I think that you know, there is something to be discussed there, maybe on a separate kind of thing, talking about this, you know, kind of digital media type stuff, because you know, is Kaleidoscape preventing itself from the masses from being because of its expense? Like, because it's meant as a high end solution. That's really
Yeah.
what it is. And which is why many people do have problems with it. I mean, I don't have one. Basically the cost of entry to get into Kaleidoscape is the same amount that my theater total is worth, right? It
Right.
doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So for someone like me, but if you have a $200,000 theater, I don't think 13 grand or whatever it is going to be like that much of a problem for you.
Right.
I'm just being honest and being real, you know, trying to be real.
Yeah. Um,
But
I'm gonna I'm
yes,
gonna be right back if you don't
sure,
mind.
sure.
So.
Yeah, I'll try to go through and then just see how everyone is doing. Um,
Yeah.
Marv actually did say that Avatar 2 had disappointing Atmos. Avatar 1 had better audio being in DTS HD. You know, I haven't watched Avatar 2 all the way through. I do remember being somewhat let down by Avatar 1's bass response back in the day, but it's been years since I've watched that. So I do want, or I do, I wonder how good it would be at this point. Or like if things have changed, because let's face it, you know, back, you guys may have dealt with this before. When you make upgrades or you start kind of really getting into stuff, I was running with one single 10-inch subwoofer for years. This is many years ago. And like now it's like things are a bit different. You know, we have like 4 subs and Dolby Atmos and all that stuff. It's all dialed in to what I feel is the best that it, you know, that can be in the room, and the room's acoustically treated. So the upgrades there like are kind of tenfold. So it's like I'm like kind of rehearing movies for the first time when I watch them, and I might notice things that I didn't notice before. You know, like earlier I was talking about how acoustic treatments can actually improve intelligibility for like the center channel, and um, you know, just kind of going back to that, it's like I might re-listen to Avatar 1 and go, wow, that does sound anemic, like I remember it. Like I remember the tree falling kind of near the end of the movie and just
Mhm.
being completely underwhelmed by that scene in terms of sound. Like I always thought it should have had more oomph and more impact. And what I can say is from like the opening of Avatar 2 with like the train derailment and stuff, that shit hit hard. That really surprised me. That's like a kind of a demo scene that I use because there's a lot going on, but it's very tight and very controlled. It's not like the opening to Ready Player One, where it's just like a cacophony of just constant, like a barrage of just constant sound, right? That's coming at you.
Yeah.
It's not a like I love Ready Player One. I love that scene. It's not
Mhm.
something that I would immediately go to like demo a home theater if someone just comes in and like I've never heard a home theater before, because I don't think that it's impressive for people that are familiar with it and that know home theater, but for people that are like, what does it sound like, I don't think that that's the best demo to start with. You kind of lead
Yeah.
up to it, but like there's just
Yeah.
too much going on to really go, oh, did you notice that? No, I didn't, because like I was still thinking about the coins that I heard over my head 10 seconds ago, you know?
Right.
So I think that it's all fun, but it's like, yeah, there's like a taste maker part where you kind of have to go, let me start out with something a little softer, you know? Let me,
Yeah.
you know, maybe not as abrupt, or you know, maybe it's an older movie that doesn't have the best use of Atmos. But yeah, everything good. You're back.
Yes.
You're back.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh my
Actually,
god, did you see that?
yeah, there's
It
a
froze me, and I got a thumbs up. That was
yeah.
weird. All right. I didn't know.
Yeah, maybe this does it just
It's
automatically
only gonna work
does
once.
it sense
I wonder
gestures?
if you have to do this. No? No, okay.
No.
Well, that was strange. I think the EV Mux gremlins are in now. That was super strange. Did we get like a super chat or something? Because that would make more sense. I- I'm gonna sit
I
here
mean,
for an
honestly,
hour after
maybe
the stream ends. I'm just gonna like try to get it to do it again.
I know, maybe it does have some sort of, like, recognizing
AI
gestures.
thing, yeah,
Yeah,
could be.
yeah.
We'll see.
To kinda bring it back full circle to Gareth Edwards,
Yeah.
one of my favorite demo scenes, just for audio clarity, but also bass response, is from the 2014 Godzilla,
Hmm.
and it's when the 2 soldiers are on the train track that's going across, like, a huge valley,
Yes.
and it's not Godzilla, but it's the other monster like Mothra or something or whoever else is in that. But they're going underneath the bridge. But it's so cool because the soldiers have to be super quiet because they don't want to get caught, they don't want to get killed. So it's just pure sound effects of this monster going under the bridge, and there's like this pulsing like going on, and it's real bass heavy. It like shakes the room when it does it. But like on top of that, because it's in a huge valley, you get subtle reverb reflections of those noises that are happening that the monster is making. So like it's just so cool because nothing else is happening. I mean, to speaking to your point about Ready Player One, about how much there's just too much going
Yeah.
on. That it's just so isolated and so cool because that's all you hear. It's just very subtle atmospheric things, reverb reflections, and then just this pulsing bass that's going on. So like it's to me that's one of my favorites just because it's so isolated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like trying to find um demo stuff. There's quite a bit in the creator as well that is very subtle and that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, I don't remember, but there are scenes. I'll have to rewatch the movie again. I need to like kind of take those demo scenes and like save them out as little. I don't know. I always do this little bite-sized things for like demo content. Um, I was gonna say, are you gonna try it or it should be me? I think he lied. I don't think it's, or maybe not. Maybe it's a one-time thing for a whole stream, and then
I know, right? We got our quota.
we got our
You can only
quota. We
do it
got
once.
yeah. That was just so bizarre. Uh, yeah, I think yeah, going back to like, I think Gareth Edwards does know what he wants in terms of like sound,
Yeah.
and I really hope that that kind of pivots or not pivots, kind of translates over to having something very dynamic in Jurassic World 4 or whatever it's going to be called. Because I mean, the original kind of set the bar so high for a lot of things, but sound in
Mhm.
particular, like sound design and
Oh
like
yeah.
Gary Rydstrom's work on that. I loved that's one of the like I'm a big you and I've talked about this before, a big lover of like behind the scenes content for
Yeah.
movies, and so
Yeah, me too.
watching that and how he created the sounds of all these different like dinosaurs from like common animals and like elephants and oh
Mhm.
there's like a whale thing in here, and it was just like how do you take that like in your head and go, okay, I think I know what I'm gonna use here.
Yeah.
It's like Ben Burt going, you know what, if I hit this slinky that I've stretched out on
Right.
top of a ladder with a pencil at the bottom, and the way I'm like, that's just like genius, it's
Yeah.
so
Pew pew pew.
yeah. And I was like, I remember I heard that and I had a slinky and I tried it, and damn, I was like, this is amazing. I'm gonna mic
Right.
it up here, and it was so cool, and yeah, it's just things like that that I don't think uh you know as a as kind of like a big home theater thing, most people dominantly or predominantly go and look at displays, right? Like they want a bigger projector, they want a bigger screen. Um, again, I'm all about controversy tonight, right? I'm gonna say sound is more important. I mean, it's at least 50-50. But for me, sound is like more 60-70% of the experience.
Yeah, for
Good
sure.
sound can make or break a movie for me.
Mhm.
Um,
No,
that's me
I
though.
totally agree.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if it's got incredible visuals, uh, it does have a wow factor.
Yeah.
Yes. Um, I'll notice good cinematography and
Yeah.
I will comment on it to my wife, but at the same time, yeah, I prefer an incredible audio mix over stunning visuals,
Yeah.
because
For sure.
it keeps me in. I don't know. It's a better form of immersion to me,
Yeah.
just because the visuals are just static. They're just there
Yeah.
in front of me,
Yeah.
whereas the sound is all around me and moving all around
Yeah.
me. So
Yeah. And I think there's a place for like you know, I've said it before, like, you know, they keep trying to figure out like visual things to kind of up the game there. You know, high frame rate's like a thing that they're still trying to push, you know, and
Don't do
for certain content, I think it can work wonders. For Gemini Man, it didn't do much of anything for me.
Did you
Um,
see the first Hobbit in
I saw
HFR?
all of them in HFR.
Oh, wow.
Um,
I only saw the
and
first one in HFR.
yeah, because I was like,
Weird.
because I remember watched it and I was like, the shots where it was like the they didn't use drones at that time. I know that like helicopter shots where they're like tracking the characters over these massive vistas in New Zealand, and
Mhm.
it's like, oh, I'm sorry, in the Shire, well, whatever. Um,
Right.
don't want to ruin anybody's childhood or life or something by saying the wrong thing. No, that was the cool, like in high frame rate, that felt so cool to like see that. But then
Mhm.
it would get to like the closer, like the medium shots or the wide shots of the character on horses that were obviously
Yeah.
fake. Prosthetics really stood out. There were
Right.
parts where it's like these guys just look like they're standing around on a set waiting for
Mhm.
someone to yell action
Right.
because they were standing on a set. It it
Right.
it played more like watching a stage play
Mhm.
than an actual movie. And there were parts that were really great. The one thing I will say that it it did a couple of things, like there are positives to that, right? Not to
Mhm.
go off on a whole thing here about high frame rate content. I saw both all three in 3D,
Yeah.
zero eye fatigue
Huh.
at all. So like in 3 hour movies, right? That's
Yeah.
the biggest benefit to me is like 3D glasses on top of glasses or contacts or whatever. Like it's already fatiguing because like 24 frames per second is low
Yeah.
in terms of like 3D
Especially,
content.
pan shots.
All the judder and stuff, it
Yeah.
really kind of does a number on your eyes over time, and it's just
Yeah.
fatiguing on your eyes. And then the other thing is the clarity in action was great, but the Hobbit used some weird like shutter speed too, like to kind of
Yeah.
compensate. It wasn't exactly like the motion blur we're like accustomed to for movies.
Right.
It was more like a hybrid between like, because basically I remember watching the behind the scenes, and why they chose to do the shutter speed where they did is because they knew that they were going to be playing it back at 24 but
Mhm.
also 48, and so they kind of went with like a middle ground. And
Yeah.
I don't know like how like well that worked out. I do know that the 4K Blu-rays of those movies look absolutely awful with the noise reduction they put on there. Um,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it looks decidedly digital. Like it doesn't look like it was shot like, or it doesn't even look cinematic to me. It just looks
Yeah.
overly processed, I think. So,
I was
um,
watching the Fellowship of the Ring, just the first Lord of the Rings
yeah,
movie the other night. I had it in my living room, but we were watching it on 4K Blu-ray, connected to my Samsung Frame TV, and man, there were a lot of shots where the highlights were just so blown out.
yep. There's heavy DNR in those movies
I'm
too.
like, what the hell? But I don't
Yeah.
remember having that experience when I watched it in my theater.
Hmm.
So maybe it's a Samsung thing because I have an LG TV in my theater.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's been so long.
Maybe
Maybe
there's
I
a
was just
setting on
so
the blue.
excited to
Yeah.
watch it that I didn't
Yeah.
notice it. I don't know.
Maybe there's a tone mapping setting on the frame that you, because I know like if it's like the movie is mastered to exceed like to, let's say, 2000 nits or 4000 nits. If
Yeah.
like, I know on like the LG, like if I forget that I'm like messing around with something and I have it set to like H gig, it'll clip those highlights above it, so everything will just
Mm.
look completely like blown out. But
Yeah.
then if I go back to tone mapping off, which is still tone mapped, but it's just like a static thing, it's not dynamic,
Yeah.
which is how I've calibrated it.
Mhm.
Then it's fine. Like there's like a roll off, and like you still get the detail and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do wonder, like all those movies unfortunately deserved way better um releases. I was even
Yeah.
surprised that what's that Beatles documentary? on Disney Plus. Can't
Oh,
remember.
I know what you're talking about, but I can't
Yeah,
remember the name of it. Yeah.
that is. I couldn't watch it. The
Yeah.
amount of processing they did to that footage to remove all the grain made it look
Mhm.
so awful to me that I'm like, I know like people aren't grain fans, but like there's so much detail removed from that 16
Yeah.
millimeter footage. I'm just
Right.
like, and he kind of did the same thing with all the Hobbit movies and all the Lord of the Rings 4K movies during
Oh
their
yeah, because Peter
remastering.
Jackson was part of it,
Yeah,
right?
because I think he had purchased all the footage or the rights to the,
Yeah.
um, yeah, disappointing, you know. Uh,
Mhm.
but like people, like maybe on your phone it looks fine because of this small screen, but like when you blow it up, it just looks like one big
I
mushy
know.
mess. And I don't know why they do that.
It is kind of bizarre that he did that, just because in my mind, knowing that it was filmed what in the 60s, 16 millimeter film, I expect for there to be a lot of grain.
Grain, and I don't expect it to look brand new. I mean, this is like you
Yeah.
said, you like however 50, 60 years old, you know, like
Mhm.
it's gonna look grainy and stuff.
Yeah.
It's weird to me,
It's
like
supposed to.
yeah, it's just weird. I don't know, like um I'm hoping that and I don't know, I haven't really researched this, but I'm hoping the official release, because another guy who's really into making things look digital and clean and pristine now is James Cameron with all of his
Yeah.
remasters.
Yes.
The True Lies fiasco. I don't know if the disc has come out yet. I haven't researched this, but the streaming version looked so bad. It didn't even
Yeah.
look like the same movie.
Oh
In
my
some
gosh.
they use some type of AI. So basically, they would like analyze the scene and pick out faces and smooth the faces, sharpen the faces, and brighten the faces. So like if you would look at side by sides, it's like suddenly they're in a car and Arnold's face is bright, Tom Arnold's face is bright. You
Oh,
know, like I'm like, what did they do to this? And it just had an
yeah.
overall like non-filmic look to it, which I hate to say it. It was guys. It was filmed in the '90s. It's gonna have
Yeah.
grain. It's gonna look kind of soft in spots,
Right.
depending on like what lenses they use. It's not gonna look like a brand new movie, and it shouldn't.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's literally on the level of like we're getting to the point where like it's like a revisionism thing. Also, the color palette was completely different than the original movie. It was all like teal and orange, and just why? Like make it look
Yeah.
like how it did. I don't care what your preference is now. What was your preference then? Because that's the movie we watched. You know,
Mhm.
at least give us the option of both. You know,
Yeah.
kind of like the original Star Wars. I don't care that he did all that stuff, but the fact that he's like, well, the original versions are, blah, 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 you know, however he talks, um, that you know, give us the originals that everybody fell in love with,
Yeah.
and then oh yeah, here's this updated version if you want it, you know.
Sure.
And I think that that would have been much better received had that been the case. It's like we're gonna make sure you're covered either way. So,
Yeah.
anywho,
I agree with that. Speaking of controversy,
oh no, oh I'm waiting.
and speaking of James Cameron, um, I think I might make a video about this, but just to kind of hit on this subject just a little bit. Everybody says that James Cameron is a genius and he's on the forefront of coming up with technologies that will be used for generations to come in the film industry. Yes, because he has a background in special effects. He was, a visual effects supervisor or something before he became a director. So, yes, that aspect of it, he's a genius. Just coming up with these ways or just coming up with these ideas to bring his vision to the silver screen.
Yeah.
But the one thing that he doesn't, or at least he doesn't, I mean, Steven Spielberg obviously didn't do the audio mix on the original Jurassic Park, but he had the foresight to hire somebody to or just hire other geniuses to take care of this incredible audio mix that still holds up today, even though it was done in 1993. Not only for the audio mixing, but the sound design as well, for designing all the
Yeah.
sounds for the dinosaurs. Because Steven Spielberg is overseeing all of these departments, right?
Right.
That's what a director does. So my beef with James Cameron is that his one weakness is audio. Not necessarily the mixing, but the sound design in particular. Jurassic Park was so revolutionary, um, not only creating CG dinosaurs for the first time, but also creating sounds
Yeah.
that had never been heard before, or at
Right.
least combining sounds that had never been heard before or thought of before. So, like, you have so many groundbreaking things happening in one movie that paved the way for decades of filmmakers. Um, and it's kind of the same thing with the original Avatar. Um, nobody had seen CGI that realistic
Yeah.
before. If you saw it in 3D, it was like the best 3D experience at the theater you've ever seen before. Just the production design and all these crazy ideas that he had in his head when he literally had a dream about Avatar and how the world looked. So it was groundbreaking in that respect, but he basically just kind of did the sound as an afterthought. A lot of the sounds you hear, like the kind of snort sound that you hear out of the horses, or like, those like six-legged horses that you see in Avatar.
Yeah.
The snort that they make whenever they're running around or approaching something is the same exact snort you hear the velociraptors give in Jurassic Park. The roar of the like big black panther thing that's in the jungle, that's the same T-Rex sound that we've heard from the original Jurassic
Yeah.
Park.
Can't remember what they're called. I should know. I've been playing the
Yeah.
Avatar game, so I should know what all of these animals are called.
Yeah. So like, as with something as original and groundbreaking as Avatar was, it was disappointing to me that he didn't take that same like fervor and that same ambition to create a completely original and brand new audio palette,
Yeah.
just as he did with the visuals.
Yeah.
It was kind of an afterthought. Like, oh yeah, Skywalker sound is gonna, take over for the audio. So we'll just do sounds that have already been around for decades.
Yeah.
Like he should have created something completely new. Even Peter Jackson created brand new sounds for the original Lord of the Rings trilogy,
Yeah.
and went to great lengths just to create new sounds, or even just record sounds on set, or having big boulders fall and hit the ground, because he wanted like authentic boulder sounds when, like, for the Battle of Helm's Deep in the
Yeah.
Two Towers. He didn't want to just create boulder sounds in a computer. He wanted the actual thing.
Yeah.
So like, it's disappointing that James Cameron didn't take that same ambition into the audio side. It was all just visuals.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he's
So
a very visual director first and foremost, and that's like his primary goal. To go back to what you're saying though about Peter Jackson and the way that, I mean, there were so many things in the original Lord of the Rings trilogy that were like kind of pioneered the way forward, and the
mhm.
kind of out of the box thinking. Like I remember watching the behind the scenes and going, they did what to get Treebeard's voice? Like they fed it
Yeah.
through like this contraption they made out of wood to give it a wood like sound. I'm like, today most of that's going to be done in post. They're
Yeah.
going to try to. I was like, there's something to be said about him literally reading the. I think they had him read the lines of dialogue into uh like a microphone. They fed that to a speaker going through there, and they mic the other end of the speaker to capture that sound. And they may have like, they may have been recording both to kind of mix in a little more and to balance it.
Sure. Right.
But like that's kind of like trying, to me that's like adding reverb to a drum set after the fact, or like recording it in a room that has, like designed for like reverb. It's going to
Yeah.
sound different. Technically,
Mhm.
it's going to sound probably better in that room designed for that purpose. But
Yeah.
just that kind of like doing all of that for these few lines, like I don't want to say few lines, but like the lines that they had really just it's like physicalized that character's voice in a way that like you just wouldn't get if you just are gonna throw on some type of effect and tweak a couple knobs.
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
um yeah, speaking of
So
sound real quick, I know
that's my hot take.
that's your hot take. That's your hot take. Marv says 65 with Adam Driver was a better dinosaur movie than the last Jurassic movie in terms of sound. I will 100% agree with that.
Oh, I never saw that one.
I think it's definitely worth a watch. The movie, it's either going to be your cup of tea or not.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. I also thought the Prey soundtrack in the movie Prey was amazing. The movie was great too, but like the sound in that movie was, there's a lot of like Atmos stuff going on there. But like,
Oh, once again, I only saw that on Hulu, so I only had a 5.1 mix.
bro, what are you doing, man?
I
Why are
know,
you even
man.
here? Just kidding. I'll leave. I'll leave. Yeah, so I think we're gonna be wrapping up here, guys, fairly soon in the next 20 minutes. So if you have questions now, I guess like general question time. If
Oh, there's one.
I've started a few, so we can go through and kind of
Oh, okay.
see.
Yeah.
But if you have a general question, I'll kind of throw this on the screen here. If you have a general question, put a Q. Notice how I edited that while you were talking? Look at that.
Ooh.
Put a Q colon and ask away. We will try to get to your question here within the next 10 to 15 minutes as we're wrapping things up here. I do want to thank everybody that has joined us. Thank you for just chilling out with us, listening to us yammer on. Dealt with some technical issues in the beginning. Um, Hopefully we'll have
Yay.
that ironed out for next week. I do feel as though if you tuned in last week, I do feel as though this week things went smoother. Elon's video quality is so much better. Last week we were dealing with delays and like constant freezing, and now it's just every once in a while. That's just internet like shit in general.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's nothing we can do about that. But I do really feel like this is a lot better. And he also has far more control. You can actually see the comments here. You can do like, yeah, we're like,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, the fighting words. Look at that. Real HT heads don't Hulu.
Hey.
Oh, I did not mean to show that.
Well, because originally, yeah, that's what Prey was released on, because it was a
Yeah,
Hulu
yeah,
original.
and it wasn't in
Yeah.
Atmos, and I didn't watch it then. I waited, like a true home theater Ian guy or something. I waited until
Yeah.
it had a physical release, and I was like, "All right, I'm watching this shit now," and it was
Yeah.
totally worth the wait. Great film, great movie. If you've not seen
Yeah.
it, highly recommend Prey. Not to be
Sleeper.
confused with the video game Prey.
Oh, yes.
Different things, but yeah.
Oh, Marv, I do not know when the next BOGO sale is. That was during Christmas time or holiday shopping season last time. So I imagine maybe a spring sale or early summer. Who knows?
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. I don't know what I was gonna say something. I was looking something up because somebody had a question about the Magnetar UD. I think it's the
Oh,
UDP
yeah, yeah.
800.
I was about to put that on. Should we just put that on?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
The screen.
Yeah. So, would you ever get the Magnetar disc player? Caleb Engadget did a recent review for the true 1% HT folks. It is truly 1% because it's currently $1,600 for a. I'm gonna
Wow.
say no. Maybe that's for $1,600. That is like in the kind of 1% for disc players.
Yeah.
It.
If
I mean,
Magnetar
sure.
wanted to give me one, sure.
Yeah. I'll definitely. Hey, home theater gamer and Elon Osborne, you just send it my way after you're done. Um, I mean, I would be more than glad to check it out. I don't have $1,600 to just kind of throw around at a Blu-ray player.
Yeah.
I think there are far more important things to look at upgrading than that in my theater before I would, go down that route. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I said this before. I consume most of my content through a Plex server that I just rip the discs that I buy, and the discs get put in the closet, and
Yeah.
that's it. Like, I'll occasionally pull them out if I have a problem with the Plex stuff. Um, yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know, Elon. What about you? I know there's kind of expensive.
Um, yeah, I mean it's I've wanted to for several years now. I've wanted to own the what is it, the Panasonic UB 9000 or something.
Something like that, yeah. But that's at like what 500 round four five
No,
hundred.
that's about 1,000. It's a
Oh, never
thousand
mind.
dollars.
Never mind.
Um, but even that has limitations. So, but yeah, obviously I still love my physical media. I still have quite a collection. So you know, if I got the Magnetar, it would definitely stay in my system for forever, pretty much, because that's basically the top of the line, and I don't think anything else is going to come out unless with this new, you can fit 125 terabytes on a single optical disc. That's probably going to take a whole new player. I don't think 4K Blu-ray players now will be able to read something like that. So they'll probably have
Yeah.
to have their own proprietary technology to run that. So if that became a thing, then I would probably get one of those.
Yeah. I think the other thing with that too is, will we actually see it come to fruition? Because according to most people, physical media is dying. It's like, Best Buy is no longer offering physical media. Maybe it is. I don't like where it's going because we still don't have a great source for like a great cost effective source for lossless audio
Yeah.
um on streaming. I will say that video streams, they're kind of, some of them can be to a point where they're hard to discern between the disc.
Yeah.
They're doing a much better job with that. It's still not going to be identical. Like, the disc is always going to have better compression or less compression artifacts.
Yeah.
Um, but for most people, I mean, some of the best like stuff, HDR stuff I've ever seen, 4K stuff, has been on Netflix shows. Like,
Yeah.
they're really kind of pushing it. And it's also stylistic. So um,
Do you have Apple TV Plus?
I did. We don't anymore, but that's where I watch like
Yeah.
Severance and things
Right.
like that. And Severance, I mean, that was a great. Like, I
Yeah.
love the cinematography of that.
Apple TV Plus definitely has some really good looking 4K HDR content.
I will have to
So,
check that out. I think I'm gonna, once Severance 2 gets announced,
yes.
I'll resub. I'll do it.
Yeah.
Hey, we got a super chat. Look at that.
Oh, thanks, Scott.
Scott Woodford, 4.99. Thanks, buddy. Netflix gaining WWE Raw. Thoughts on that deal? Um, man,
Well, I mean, obviously streaming is the way to go nowadays, especially for shows and movies, and you know, so many studios are still striking deals with streaming platforms, especially
yeah,
with sports. Major League Soccer and baseball are now on streaming platforms, depending on which one you have. So yeah, I think it's just WWE is just another. another facet to streaming becoming the end all be all of how to just watch your content nowadays. Because
Yeah,
where was it before? Where
I
could
don't
you
know.
watch WWE Raw before? I don't even know.
Yeah, I think he does bring up a good point though, because if Netflix paid for it, we're starting. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I get sick and tired of like anytime because I don't keep Netflix around. I
Yeah.
only like resub when I want to watch something.
Right.
And so when I do, it's normally a buck or two more expensive than the last time I did it.
Mhm.
And the last time I did it, we kept it for a month because we were watching the fall of House of Usher.
Yep.
And we watched that over the course of a month. And just before it ended, I got a notification saying that it was going up another $2 for the 4K
Yeah.
And I was like, but like you literally just raised this like 6 months ago. So
Yeah.
like my issue, just in general, but also kind of geared towards Scott, is I think it's great for right now that that's a place where people can watch WWE Raw. Um,
Mhm.
any place you can get to watch basketball is great. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I know it's wrestling. Um, you're like, what? No, any place it's great, but that's just if Netflix starts acquiring more and more things, those things cost money. Their
Mhm.
Netflix originals cost money. The price is eventually just going to keep going up and up and up and up.
Yeah.
And there comes a point, like we're almost at the point now where like it's $30 a month for Netflix, and I think that is um
That is
for
a
all of
hefty
their, yeah,
price.
depending on like how much you use it, that's either going to be good or bad. So
Yeah.
um I don't know that the deal is the best, but I mean the same thing could be said to honestly about like Microsoft acquiring every damn studio. They keep like they're like, hey,
Yeah.
we're gonna buy. Hey, we just bought Activision Blizzard. Hey, we're just so
Yeah.
eventually people are like, this is great. Is it
Yeah.
for gaming? Like if there's no competition, if they're like that's not good either. They're
Right.
like gonna start jacking prices up. Um, but there's also rumors. We do a whole episode about that. There's also rumors that Microsoft is looking at maybe going to a software only company. Rumors. They're no
Oh.
longer going to provide Xbox hardware. I don't know. That's kind of what I've been reading. So interesting, interesting. But thank you again, Scott, for the super chat. Really appreciate that. Thanks for tuning in. Um, answer some other questions. Questions.
Questions.
I think we already answered this. Kevin asked, "Will the director of the new Jurassic Park demand great quality Atmos audio?" I would hope so. If not, at least
Yeah,
a very good DTSX mix. I mean,
for sure.
um, they can both sound great. I think, for being honest, I don't think we're gonna start. I don't. Let's. I don't know. I'm gonna say Oro 3D. Let's just leave it at that. What is Oro 3D? And then he had a comment: Jurassic World meets Deadpool. Maybe could be a fun movie. I would that if it was R rated, absolutely. But
Oh,
if
for
it's like gonna
sure.
be a PG-13 thing, no chance.
Nah.
Although, if none of you have seen that PG-13 version of Deadpool, I can't remember what it's called. The one where
Oh yeah.
that was actually
Like
pretty
the
well
like the
done.
Christmas version or something like
Yeah, he like kidnaps the not Kevin
Fred
Arnold,
Savage.
Fred Savage. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, he seems nice, by the way. Uh,
He does.
oh wow, this is going back here. Christopher G says, "I thought I would never say this about a movie, but indeed, Twister has too much Atmos effects."
Mm,
Definitely, definitely agree with you there. Yeah.
very loud.
Hopefully when that hits the States, it might be, a bit better in that regard. Like maybe
If they
they'll,
remaster it, yeah.
yeah. It's a little hot, a little heavy.
Yeah.
And we already answered the Kaleidoscape stuff. Oh, Danny R asks, this is actually a good question for Elin. I accidentally just unstarred it by accident. He was asking, let me find it real quick. He was asking what subs we use. Elon, what subs do you currently have in your system
T-
here?
Two Bravus 12D subs from Aperion Audio, one Stark SW12, and one SVS SB4000.
So you got like a nice mixture there of different
Yeah.
things. And how do they all play together? How are they? How are they?
Pretty nicely actually, because the Bravus 12Ds up front have passive radiators, and they are downward firing.
Yep.
But the
Heavy as heck too. They are.
yes,
I mean, I'm
well,
like
so is
not.
the SB4000. Holy cow!
Oh, dude, the PB4000. I made a whole video about like how I could barely fit that through the door. Like it.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, you want to check out the 16 Ultras? I'm like, I don't know if I can. I'll get through there.
Yeah.
That's
But
cool.
yeah, then the SB4000 is obviously front firing, but it's
Hmm.
sealed. And then the Stark SW12 is also sealed, front firing. So yeah, I think it's a good mix because I've got passive radiators and sealed boxes and all kinds of stuff going on. So it because they all have like their different sonic characteristics.
Yeah.
I do like how the SB4000 is very kind of like aggressive,
Hmm.
especially
Yeah.
like kind of mid bass. So that really takes care of that, like your cinema quality aggressive bass.
Yeah. Very
But
tight.
then it's
Very.
more
Yeah.
rounded off by the Bravus 12Ds up front. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's a good mix.
Interesting. Yeah. I'm currently running 10 subs. No, I'm just kidding. Uh, I do actually have. I need to post a picture of this on my community tab. I have 10 subs in my theater room, um, but only 4 are hooked up in their respective places. Basically, it's just the life of a reviewer. I don't have anywhere else to put them, so they're all in there. I do have a Bravus 212D right down here underneath the thing. You can't see it over here, but no, in the theater room, I'm rocking 2 PB4000s and 2 PB3000s. Um, the 4000s are up front, the 3000s are in the back. It's a small room, so it's like totally overkill. I think I mentioned this last time we were on a stream, but I'm running each like like there's so much headroom. I'm actually thinking about because currently I have them all run in extended mode, although the 3000s technically don't have an extended mode, but you can still plug one of the ports. It works because I'm not overdriving them. Otherwise, port chuffing is going to be a huge issue. They just don't have the surface area on the ports to kind of facilitate that much air movement. However, I'm thinking of doing like just kind of converting to all sealed in that small room because they'd still hit pretty fucking hard in that small room, and then using a mini DSP to kind of time align everything. Um, you know, basically, I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna do that, I might as well just film the whole tutorial with sealed subs because I need to film the updated mini DSP tutorial. So that's uh that's what I'm running right now. I'm hoping I'm hoping these will be permanent mainstays, but I'm not sure if I can afford them because I still need to pay for them. So yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, that I think we have one other. It wasn't a question. I wanted to kind of just talk about this real quick. Jason MC says you need to check out Buckeye amplifiers. I do actually want to check them out.
Yeah.
Um, I am, you know, if this is, I don't know if, should I admit this? I might have to turn in my home theater card after this. I have never personally in my own home theater heard separates. I've never heard a separate amplifier and like processor. I've only heard like a receiver driving all the speakers.
Hmm.
And I'm not, because I've never had the functionality before. All the receivers that I've had never had pre-outs, only for the subs. Obviously, that's like a given. But
Yeah.
I've never heard like the difference, or I've never had like the ability to run the separates before. So I'm curious to see if I notice any sonic differences. Um, some people say yay, some people say nay. I have somewhat inefficient speakers, so I feel like it would be a pretty cool experiment for
Yeah.
like the Pioneer Andrew Jones because they're not very sensitive. They're 6 ohm. I think they're like in the mid 80s for sensitivity.
Oh wow, yeah.
So yeah, I think having that extra amp, like the extra like wattage and stuff for the amp, like I'm not gonna get into it because I made a comment once and it was I just like said something wrong and I was like, if I don't know about something, I'm not gonna talk about it. But yeah, I'm curious to see though. I am in the process of kind of renovating or switching things up in the theater room so I could actually have the capability of adding an amplifier because currently the receiver does have that capability. I just physically don't have the space.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a small room. It's like 11 by 12. So I probably wouldn't need much power in that room, but I want it all. I want to
Yeah.
crack the windows.
Well,
Like I
even then, having separates isn't all just about power. I mean,
right,
it's
right. No,
about
it's
the channel separation and
yeah,
the details and stuff. So
yeah. So and I think going forward, like for many years, I didn't have the capability of even running 4 ohm speakers on um,
yeah.
my receiver. It would just shut off. This is my old Denon.
Mhm.
So not having to worry about that because I've had to turn down reviews for speakers because I just couldn't do it. Like my
Yeah.
receiver just would not handle it. And so yeah, that's kind of where we're at with that. Um, have you ever thought about checking out Buckeye amplifiers, Elon?
Yeah. Honestly, I think Jason was the one that sent me an email not too long ago telling me about that, or maybe a comment. I can't remember now.
Mm,
But yeah, he told me about Buckeye and that I should check them out, and I checked out their website and was like, holy shit.
yeah, yeah. It seems to be
Yeah.
pretty like affordable, like price to performance, right? Like
Yeah.
that's what I've heard. I
Mhm.
think was it Barrett from Spec of Tech? Was it him doing the Buckeye thing? No, that was Tone. Was it Tone Winner? Yeah, I'm
Oh,
getting confused.
maybe.
Maybe there's a lot of like kind of budget friendly options for amplifiers. It seems so. I'm
Yeah.
definitely like going to be on the lookout. Aperion was going to send me one of their amps at one point, but I don't remember. I don't know what happened. I need to reach back out. Um, Elon, I know you got to go. We have one more question. Do you want to fire away?
Sure.
Okay. And it's actually for you from Marv. Elon, how do you like the SW12 compared to the SB4000?
I definitely, well, the SB4000 is just on another level when it comes to just sheer raw power. Um, the SW12 is just a more rounded bass experience. Very good. It does the job. Although I would say that sometimes I wish the SB4000 was sometimes not as aggressive, or like with the mid bass,
Yeah.
because it's sealed.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you think you'd be
I'm
dealing with like mid bass buildup in your room? Because I know that like you don't run a mini DSP or anything, right? Like you're just
right.
so it could be like mid bass buildup that you're hearing. I don't know. Just
Maybe,
theorizing at
but I
this
mean,
point.
at the same time, I do like that like aggressive bass feeling, like when I can feel it in my chest.
Yeah.
Um, because that's what really like lets me know that this is normally what I would hear only in a movie theater and not
Yeah.
in my home. So I do enjoy it. Um, but yeah, it's I may possibly enjoy the PB4000 more than the SB4000, but I just don't have a PB4000 to compare it to.
Yeah.
So
All right, cool, man. I think that will wrap up our live stream here. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Same time next week. That's what we're planning on right now, right?
yep.
So we'll try to get it scheduled and hopefully not deal with weird technical issues next time. But
Yeah.
you know what? We'll figure it
So
out
weird.
and we'll look back at this and go, we were so amateur. Um, but anyway, thank you guys again for watching, and we will catch you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.